Welcome to BikeSocial, welcome to Brands Hatch, the final round of the British Superbikes, and we're here with Tyco BMW Motorrad. Now, one of the questions we've been asked is what does the rider actually see and what does the array of buttons actually do? Okay, so let's start with the BMW Superbike. So on the right hand side is essentially what you'd have on a kind of normal road bike, in that they're your power. So you've got the power, the kill switch and the start button. So essentially when you see riders crash and they run over to their bikes really quickly, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to kill the engine and kill the fuel pump. Now you can kill the engine but leave the power on, which means the data is still running, so we record data, which is quite important. So that it does depend on how the bike ends the lap, or if it's in a gravel trap, or if it's neatly in the garage. The left-hand side is kind of like the busy hand, because the right-hand side is doing the throttle and the brake. Okay, so this little dial here is quite simple. It's just a span adjuster on the brake lever. So if the brake lever starts going back to the bar, at a track where it's really heavy braking, we can adjust accordingly whilst still riding. Then the buttons on the left-hand side, there's one just behind here, which is the rain light, as you can see by the dash. On the bottom, this is the engine brake. So you can see the engine brake strategy on the right-hand side of the dash. The top one is different maps, 1 and 2. And the white one is your pit lane limiter. Now to activate the pit lane limiter, you have to ride and press it at the same time. As soon as you release the button, the pit lane limiter releases and away you go. The flashing lights across the top is like a rev counter, which you would find on a normal bike. And when all the lights illuminated, time to change gear. Fastest lap is pretty self-explanatory, and this is your lap time here in the bottom left. The little bar here across on the bottom will change in colour depending on how well the rider is doing in each sector. So for example, the fastest lap will always remain the fastest lap. So if we set our fastest lap on lap 3, that will stay at whatever the fastest lap is. If we then slow down a little, it will display the lap time on this side. So you're always trying to chase your fastest lap, which is the lap on the top right. And along the bottom, this is sectors. So this will change colours, so the rider knows that he's had a good sector and he's chasing his ultimate fastest lap. Now with the engine brake and the maps, there's 2 maps and 2 engine brake strategies. One will be quite a harsh power setting and one will be quite soft. So if the tyre starts to go off, the rider can choose a different map. And again, that's the same with the engine braking. Water temp is quite self-explanatory, and this here is so the team can download all the data. So there's quite an array of buttons and things that the rider needs to think about. He's looking at his dash and he's chasing his best sector and he's chasing his fastest lap. He's also looking at what lap time he's doing at the moment, which will give him an idea of how he's doing in qualifying. In between that, he can then change his engine braking and his mapping. And while he's doing that, he's battling 28 other riders, pushing as fast as he can, as hard as he can. The gears is obviously self-explanatory in the middle, and the lap time will stay on for the entire lap. So he doesn't necessarily have to do that as he goes over the start-finish, because now you're braking for paddock and panicking to get it down to Paddock Hill. You can possibly do that on the reverse side of the track where there's a straight and you've got time to do it. There's a lot to think about. And remember, this data is not live, so this data doesn't go back to the team. They can only download this data once the bike is back in the paddock, back in the garage. And the only way of communicating with the rider is via the pit board, which is a traditional pit board that we're going to have a look at shortly.